motto of the AME Church has always been God our Father, man our brother, and Christ our Redeemer. The word man included men and women of all races back in 1787 and 1792 in the spirit of reconciliation. The black church's role in the fight for equality and justice from the 1700s up until 2008 has always had as its core the non-negotiable doctrine of reconciliation. Children of God repenting for past sins against each other. Jim Wallace says America's sin of racism has never even been confessed, much less repented for. Repenting for past sins against each other and being reconciled to one another. Jim Wallace is white, by the way. Being reconciled to one another because of the love of God who made all of us in God's image. Reconciliation, the years have taught me, is where the hardest work is found for those of us in the Christian faith, however, because it means some critical thinking and some re-examination of faulty assumptions. When using the paradigm of Dr. William Augustus Jones, Dr. Jones in his book, God in the Ghetto, argues quite accurately that one's theology, how I see God, determines one's anthropology, how I see humans, and one's anthropology then determines one's sociology, how I order my society. Now, the implications from the outset are obvious. If I see God as male, if I see God as white male, if I see God as superior, as God over us and not Emmanuel, which means God with us, if I see God as mean, vengeful, authoritarian, sexist, or misogynist, then I see humans through that lens. My theological lens shapes my anthropological lens, and as a result, white males are superior, all others are inferior. And I order my society where I can worship God on Sunday morning wearing a black clergy robe and kill others on Sunday evening wearing a white Klan robe. I can have laws which favor whites over blacks in America or South Africa. I can construct a theology of apartheid in the Afrikaner church and a theology of white supremacy in the North American or Germanic church. The implications from the outset are obvious, but then the complicated work is left to be done as you dig deeper into the constructs which tradition, habit, and hermeneutics put on your plate. To say I am a Christian is not enough. Why? Because the Christianity of the slaveholder is not the Christianity of the slave. The God to whom the slaveholders pray as they ride on the decks of the slave ship is not the God to whom the enslaved are praying as they ride beneath the decks on that same slave ship. How we are seeing God, our theology, is not the same. And what we both mean when we say, I am a Christian, is not the same thing. The prophetic theology of the black church has always seen and still sees all of God's children as sisters and brothers, equals who need reconciliation, who need to be reconciled as equals in order for us to walk together into the future which God has prepared for us. Reconciliation does not mean that blacks become whites or whites become blacks, that Hispanics become Asian or that Asians become Europeans. Reconciliation means we embrace our individual rich histories, all of them. We retain who we are as persons of different cultures while acknowledging that those of other cultures are not superior or inferior to us. They are just different from us. We root out any teaching of superiority, inferiority, hatred, or prejudice, and we recognize for the first time in modern history in the West that the other who stands before us with a different color of skin, a different texture of hair, different music, different preaching styles, and different dance moves. That other is one of God's children just as we are. No better, no worse. Prone to error and in need of forgiveness just as we are. Only then will liberation, transformation, and reconciliation become realities and cease being ever elusive ideals. Thank you for having me in your midst this morning.